The time had come for New York to sleep, but the city that never sleeps had put on quite the show. Dazzling lights reflected in the windows of towering buildings, painting the sidewalk below in a rainbow of colors. The streets bustled with people late into the night, their voices echoing with laughter and chatter. In the heart of this vibrant chaos sat Michael in his small radio booth. Outside, the city roared with life, but inside it was just him and the microphone. It was during these late-night hours that he truly felt connected to the city, to the dreams and worries of its people. His radio show, a beacon in the darkness, gave a voice to strangers, allowing them to share their stories, their joys, and their sorrows. Michael leaned back, a content smile on his face. Tonight, like every night, promises to be filled with the city's symphony of broken dreams and quiet desperation. He adjusted the microphone, welcoming the next caller. A soft but broken voice came through the line. "Hello," it said. "My name is Clara." "Clara," Michael repeated, savoring the way the name rolled off his tongue. "This show belongs to you. Say whatever you'd like." For a moment, there was silence, only the faint sound of street traffic providing a backdrop. Then Clara began to speak, her voice a mere whisper, so soft that at times it was almost impossible to hear. But the few listeners who tuned in were captivated by her every word. "I'm calling to say goodbye," she whispered, each word carefully measured as if she were afraid of being interrupted. "Goodbye to my family, my friends, my life, my dreams." Michael felt a chill run down his spine. There was something in her tone, a deep sorrow that transcended the physical world, reaching out to touch the hearts of every listener across the city. Despite the cheerful music that played on the radio, Clara's voice painted a stark contrast, a somber melody that resonated with the city's underbelly of loneliness and loss. He struggled to maintain his composure, fighting back the urge to reach out and offer comfort to the woman whose identity remained a mystery. Michael knew that his listeners, too, were moved by her story. Even if they didn't fully understand it, they felt her pain echoing within their own souls. As Clara continued to speak, Michael found himself leaning forward, captivated by her every word. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice cracking with emotion. "I'm sorry for leaving this way. I tried to hold on, but it wasn't enough." Her words hung in the air, unanswered, creating a dialogue between the living and the dead. Michael felt tears pricking at his eyes, blurring the lights of the city that had seemed so vibrant just moments before. Suddenly, Clara fell silent, leaving Michael in the booth and the listeners on the other end of the line hanging on to her every breath. The seconds ticked by, each one heavy with anticipation. Then she spoke again, her voice barely audible. "I have nothing left now. No one will remember me. All those memories, all those moments, all those dreams, they were beautiful. But they were mine, and now they're gone." Michael felt his heart breaking for her, for all of them. In that moment, he realized that their stories, though painful, were also beautiful, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of overwhelming sorrow. As dawn began to break, Clara's voice faded away, leaving behind an eerie silence that was deafening. The first rays of sunlight peeked through the curtains, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, and as the city awoke, it did so with a heavy heart, mourning the loss of a voice that had touched its soul. Michael sat in the booth, his eyes closed, listening to the echoes of Clara's voice in his head. He knew that for some, her story would be a reminder of their own battles with grief. But he also knew that in sharing her story, they had honored her memory. As the show came to an end, he spoke softly into the microphone, his voice hoarse with emotion. "This is Michael, and until next time, may you find peace in the silence of your heart and strength in the love of those around you. Good night, Clara. Good night." He didn't know what her face looked like. He didn't know anything about her, really, except for the sound of her voice, a voice that haunted his waking thoughts and invaded his dreams. Clara. That was her name. She began calling every night at the stroke of midnight, as regular as the ticking of the clock, as predictable as the sunrise. And just when he thought he could bear it no longer, she would say goodnight, and he would be left to his own devices until the following evening, when the torment would begin anew. Their conversations were never long, maybe a few minutes at most, stolen moments between the confines of his work and the solitude of her own place. She would tell him fragments of her world, small pieces of a life he had no context for. Like tonight, for example. She was walking alone in the rain, she told him, the water mixing with the neon lights of the city to paint the pavement in hues of red and blue. She felt alive, she said, her laughter echoing in his ear long after she hung up. Then there were other nights when she would stand by a high window watching the city below. She described the scene to him in hushed tones, the way the buildings huddled together as if for warmth, the lonely street lamp casting long shadows that danced to the rhythm of the wind. Sometimes she would sit in a quiet room scribbling poetry in a thick notebook, her pen scratching against the paper like a bird trying to take flight. She read him some of her verses, her voice trembling slightly as she did. And he listened, mesmerized, not because he understood her words, which were often strange and cryptic, but because he felt the soul behind them, a kindred spirit speaking to him across the miles. And as the weeks turned into months, he found himself falling in love. Not with a face, but with a voice, with the unseen soul behind it. Her silence spoke to him louder than words ever could, and her absence was a constant ache in his chest. It wasn't rational, perhaps, but then again, love rarely is. There were times when he wanted to reach out and touch her to feel the softness of her skin under his fingertips, to trace the lines of her face to look into her eyes, and see the depths of her soul reflected back at him. But he knew he couldn't. Not yet, anyway. He respected her privacy, her need for anonymity, even if it meant that his own heart was slowly being eaten away by the relentless tide of longing. Then came the night when he finally reached out, when he could bear the torment of longing no more. He told her everything, how he felt about her, about their nightly chats, about the way she had wormed her way into his thoughts and made them her own. He poured his heart out, hoping for a miracle, praying that she felt the same way about him. But when he heard her sigh deeply on the other end, he knew it wasn't going to be a happy ending. "Clara, where do you live? I want to meet you," he said, his voice shaking slightly. There was a long pause, the kind that stretched on forever and ever, broken only by the sound of his ragged breathing. Finally she spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "Maybe one day," she said, "if time allows." And with those 3 little words, she hung up, leaving him in the darkness with his shattered hopes and the faint echo of her voice. The line went dead. No more static, no more crackling connection, just the deafening silence of her absence. And as the seconds ticked by, turning into minutes and then hours, he knew that he had lost her. She was gone, and there was nothing he could do to bring her back. In the cold light of dawn, he pulled the covers over his head, burying his face in the pillow as he cried himself to sleep, dreaming of a love that was never meant to be. As days passed, Michael's feelings grew stronger. He had made up his mind. He would propose to Clara. Every moment he spent with her was pure magic. When they worked together, when they laughed together, when they looked into each other's eyes, he felt an overwhelming urge to spend the rest of his life with her. One evening, while strolling along the Seine, Michael took out the ring. He got down on one knee and said, "Clara, will you marry me?" Tears welled up in Clara's eyes as she nodded, unable to utter a word. She threw herself into Michael's arms, and they sealed their engagement with a kiss, sealing their love with a kiss. But fate had a cruel twist in store for them. The very next day, something unexpected happened. Michael was at the radio station preparing for his show. Suddenly his phone rang. It was Clara. Her voice, however, sounded strange, distant. Michael picked up and asked, "Hello, Clara. Why did you call?" "Michael!" Clara's voice trembled. "This is my last call." Michael's heart raced. "What do you mean? Where are you? I'm coming to you right now." There was a faint sound of sirens in the background. "I'm sorry, Michael," Clara whispered, her voice almost fading away. "I never meant to deceive you. I've been hiding something from you." Before Michael could respond, the line went dead. He immediately rushed to Clara's apartment. Rushing into the bedroom, he noticed a suitcase by the door, its contents spilling out. On the pillow, he found a note written in Clara's handwriting. "I'm sorry, Michael. I have to go. I can't let you see me like this. I love you, but I can't make you suffer. Goodbye, my love." With trembling hands, Michael dialed 911, his mind racing. Was Clara in danger? Had someone kidnapped her? The police arrived, but their search yielded no results. Clara had vanished without a trace. Days turned into weeks, yet there was no sign of Clara. Michael's hope began to dwindle, his heart heavy with despair. Then one night, as he was alone in his apartment, the phone rang. Startled, Michael picked up the receiver. "Hello?" A familiar voice, weak but determined, spoke on the other end. "Michael, is that really you?" It was Clara. Relief washed over Michael. "Clara, where are you? Why haven't you been answering my calls?" "I'm so sorry, Michael. I didn't mean to hurt you. I had to protect you." Her voice trembled. "Protect me from what?" "From me, Michael. I'm not the person you fell in love with. I'm not worthy of your love." Before Michael could respond, the line went dead. He rushed back to the radio station, hoping to catch her on air. As he entered the studio, he found a note on the console. It read, "I'm in the hospital. My heart won't last much longer." Without a moment's hesitation, Michael dashed to the hospital. He searched frantically, calling out Clara's name. Finally, he found her in a room at the end of the hall. The sight that greeted him was both heartbreaking and surreal. Clara lay on the bed, her face pale, her breathing shallow. Tubes and wires were attached to her, and a machine beeped rhythmically beside her. Tears streamed down Michael's face as he rushed to her side. "Clara, I didn't know you were here. Are you okay?" She looked at him, a faint smile on her lips. "You came. I knew you would. I knew you'd come for me, Michael." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Don't cry, Michael. Love is sometimes just a gift of fleeting moments. And for me, those moments were you." With that, her eyes fluttered closed, the rhythmic beeping of the machine filling the silence. In the face of this unexpected turn of events, Michael felt utterly helpless. The love of his life was slipping away, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. The next morning, Michael rushed to the hospital, but when he asked for Clara, the staff looked puzzled. "There's no patient here by that name," a nurse explained gently. "This room has been empty for a year. There was a young woman named Clara. Her story matches what you said, but she passed away months ago." Michael's breath caught. His heart sank. Had he been speaking every night? To a ghost? Back at the station, a new recording appeared in the system. A faint, familiar voice whispered, "Michael, thank you. You brought me back to life." Michael shut the console, tears streaming down his face. Sometimes love doesn't last a lifetime, but a few phone calls can echo through eternity. Do you believe in ghosts? I don't mean like spirits that walk among us, but like echoes of people who have passed on. Can their energy linger in the physical world, affecting those around them? Well, whether you do or you don't, one thing is certain, the afterlife is a hot topic. In America alone, there are more than 140 million ghosts, most of them tethered to earthly possessions, photographs, jewelry, letters, diaries, and yes, even answering machines. After all, when someone dies, where do their memories go? What happens to all those stories they could have told, those jokes they never got to crack, those dreams they were chasing? Sometimes these things get tied up in the physical world, stuck between dimensions like a bridge between this life and the next. And that's why sometimes, just sometimes, if you listen very carefully, you might hear their voices calling out to you. Like the time I received a call from my grandma. She wanted to tell me about her trip to Paris. It was 2 days before her passing. Or when a friend called to say goodbye. He didn't know he had cancer. He died a week later. These are two ghosts I'll always cherish. They reached out to me during their final moments because they knew it would be the last time. They wanted to make sure I remembered their voices, their laughter, their stories. But sometimes it's not so clear-cut. Like with the case of Michael, a man haunted by a ghost he couldn't let go of. His nightly phone calls began 5 years ago. He was working late, as usual, when his pager went off. It was an anonymous tip, a robbery at a local convenience store. Michael arrived first on the scene, but the only witness was a young woman whose face was covered in blood. She stammered out the description of the robber. Then she collapsed in front of him. It was the beginning of a beautiful romance. Michael visited Clara every day in the hospital. They fell in love over stolen glances and whispered confessions. He told her about his dreams of opening a bakery, and she promised to be his first customer. They talked about everything and nothing, the way only young lovers do, until suddenly she stopped visiting. 1 minute she was there, the next she was gone. The doctor said she left against medical advice, but Michael knew better. He started making nightly phone calls to her apartment, hoping to hear her voice, to feel connected. Sometimes he talked for hours, pouring his heart out, telling her every thought that crossed his mind, every fear and fantasy. He felt her presence on the other end, her breathing, her silence, her absence. And then, just as abruptly as she disappeared, she returned, her voice weaker, her breath shallow. "Michael, I need your help," she whispered. "I'm trapped. Please save me." And he would, rushing to the hospital, desperate to find her, to save her, but always arriving too late. The nurses would shake their heads, their faces filled with pity. "There's no patient here by that name," they'd say, "but we have her things." And they showed him the room. It was bare, except for a single white rose lying on the pillow. Each night, Michael poured his soul into the phone, talking to the ghost he loved. He never told anyone. Not his colleagues, not his friends, not his family. He was ashamed, embarrassed, afraid they'd think he was crazy. So, he kept calling every night for a year, until suddenly, one day, she stopped picking up. One day, a new recording appeared in the system. A faint, familiar voice whispered, "Michael, thank you. You brought me back to life." And just like that, she was gone. Had he been speaking every night to a ghost? Was Clara really haunting him, tethered to the mortal plane by her unfinished business, her love for him? Or was she just a figment of his imagination, a manifestation of his loneliness and desire? Whether you believe in ghosts or not, one thing is certain, the afterlife is a hot topic. And if you want to learn more about it, there are plenty of resources available. Who knows? You might just find the answers you're looking for. Sometimes love doesn't last a lifetime, but a few phone calls can echo through eternity. That was our story for today. If you liked it, please hit the like button and share it with your friends. We'll see you tomorrow.